Oh, this is the MetalAsylum.net live stream. We are live right now.
Yes, we are live now.
Yeah,
we're live, Keith.
So yeah,
that's good evening on the East Coast. You guys are in the dark on the East Coast. Well, now you are. It's 8 o'clock.
Evening on the West Coast. You're on the West Coast, right? You're in California.
Yeah, it's only 5 o'clock, man. We got some great sunlight going on, man.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm in the darkness. I'm in the darkness of Phoenix here. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The sun just set here around maybe a half hour ago. So the sun's staying up, later and later now on the East Coast.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So another day has come. This is the MetalAsylum.net live stream. I'm Jack Mangan. What do I have? I've got the David Bowie shirt today, representing David Bowie.
Cool.
We are. Yeah. So you know me from the Am I Evil graphic novel. That's why it says Evil Jack down there. I can't point. And MetalAsylum.net and the Metal Hall of Fame. Hey, the new Metal Hall of Fame website is up. Go check it out, metalhalloffame.org. Big props to Pat Giswaldo and the team. To my left is my metal cohort.
Rich Catino from Metal Asylum also, and Brave Words Magazine, and the Metal Hall of Fame, and Sea of Tranquility once in a while. And we are joined by Mr. Keith St. John from, tell us, Keith, where are you from? What have you done? Give us your couple of current projects.
I'm from Southern California, man. I'm single. I like boating and fishing, and my answer to Bachelorette number 2 is no. Anyway,
Burning Rain, right?
Yeah. A lot of people know Burning Rain. We got 4 albums out now. My partner, I started it with Doug Aldridge. Most of your viewers are probably familiar with him. Gentleman was in Dio for a while and Whitesnake for a while. At the same time, I was floating around with Montrose for a whole bunch of years, with Ronnie Montrose and a little bit of Lynch Mob stuff and Nazareth and some other things. So in between all our projects, we managed to get an album out. The longest time in between records was actually 13 years between the second record and the third record. And then it wasn't so long until the 4th record after that, which just came out 2 years ago. Yeah. So
that's when you guys played the Monsters of Rock cruise, right?
Well, Monsters of Rock was about 1 year ago.
Oh, okay.
But the record came out like the April before that.
Okay.
And Doug and I actually went and did an acoustic 2-man European tour, which was a lot of fun. A lot of trains and buses and, the whole going around Europe by ground. 2 guys with acoustic guitars on their backs and stuff. That was a lot of fun. And then the rest of the band came over, and we had a live show or 2 there, which one of them was the Frontiers Rock Festival that happens in Milan, Italy. And then we did a few gigs during the year in the States, and we kind of ended off with the Monsters of Rock last February, I want to say. And that was a blast. The band seems to be a pretty big hit with that crowd. They know us from different bands. We had never played for that cruise or any cruise before, so we got quite nicely welcomed into the community, and I'm sure we'll be back again sometime in the not too distant future. So. And
you're also singing for Kingdom Come currently, also, right?
Currently with Kingdom Come, yes. Well, semi-currently because of COVID, but things are starting to come back little by little. Kingdom Come's got a few dates that are on the map, that are sticking to the map. Just local Southern California dates in July 9th and 10th at a few of the Southern California Canyon clubs. We're at the Heat Festival in Ludwigsburg, Germany in December 4th. And
cool. That festival happens yearly, right? That festival?
Yeah. That one's going to stay on, it looks like. There's a lot of festivals that dropped in 2020, pretty much all of them. And some of them, are scheduled to come back on in 2021. But because of COVID restrictions, it's been kind of a seesaw game. And a lot of them still have to wait till 2022. So, There's a few more that we're scheduled on, but I don't have a definite confirmation on for 2021. But Kingdom Come Band is raring and ready to go, man. Those guys got together. All the members except for Lenny Wolf, the original singer, got together for the first time since I think 1989, or 1990 or something, when the band disbanded. And first time back together, we took things back up in 2018. We started out with a grueling club ground tour, all around the States. And then we got picked up by a very reputable bigger agent who handles a lot of these kind of bands. And, curiously enough, our big breakout year that he kind of scheduled to happen was 2020. So it's kind of a big bummer all those years, and then hurry up and then. So, but I think you'll see a
screeching halt.
Kingdom Come in 2022. I think 2022. Sweden Rock will be back on. I'm hoping, pretty sure it feels like it will, and a lot of the others that still won't be on in 2021. So we're looking forward to that. That band's a blast to play with. Have a good time singing with those guys, and the material is pretty much, it's fit for what I do.
Yeah.
Which, in my much older years now, I need to pick things that just kind of work, and I can just be me and sing my way and have it work. Because, trying to be a caricature of, I don't know, whoever just is, it's too much work now.
Yeah.
So Kingdom Come's going, Burning Rain is going, but Doug and I, once again, and the other band members of Burning Rain, we're all kind of involved in other things right now. So it may be a little while maybe a year or two before we can get another record out.
Right.
So,
okay. All right. So I've got 20 questions now based on the things you just said. But first question. So when you and Doug Aldrich did these tours, what would we hear in the set list if we were lucky enough to be at one of these shows?
One of the acoustic shows?
Yeah.
Okay. So we definitely jammed out on some of our favorite covers, and, with the Burning Rain material, we tried to diversify it and have songs from all 4 records. Even though we were promoting the new record, there was a lot of cities we hadn't ever been in or hadn't been in for a really long time. So, hey, Connecticut's in the house. What's up in that?
Which the album is called Face the Music, everybody, if you didn't know that.
It's called Face the Music.
Yeah.
So we probably did, 6 cuts from Face the Music, and another 6 or 7 cuts from the other records. And then, what's up, Patty? And then good to see you. And then we did some of our favorite covers, which was a little different every night. We might play Jump Jack Flash. We might, the audience might start singing something, and we'll just join in. And
nice.
Doug will just join in on anything, and usually nail the key that they're singing in too, man.
Cool.
To try to keep up, whether it be something from, a Dio record or a Whitesnake tune or whatever.
That makes it fun. When spontaneous makes it fun.
Oh yeah. Totally. And the good thing is those audiences, they're kind of loyal fans. They've been around a while, and we can kind of get away with a lot. They'll just kind of laugh. If we make a mistake, they'll laugh it off, and they'll join in, and I can throw a tambourine out to somebody, and they'll just jump up and start playing it, or whatever. So those were, a lot of those were like sort of large pubs. So, there was definitely some fun, some beer drinking, and that kind of thing.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right, I'm going to take one, Jack.
Go for it.
All right, so I'm at your Wikipedia page. I want to see how correct this is, okay?
Okay, I haven't seen it in quite some time. So.
Oh, so you don't actually, because people are able to access it and edit things, so you don't do that yourself?
I think I did at one point, but probably, I'm going to have to say probably about 2012 or something like that, maybe. It's been a while.
So it's got here that you're on Atlantic Records, with a band called Big Trouble, which featured Bobby Rondinelli and John Levin.
Yeah, you know those guys. Now, Rich, you're out of New Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured because we met through Jack there, and anyway, so you probably were young on the rock scene, and you heard of the Rondinellis. Bobby and Rainbow was a big thing back. Yeah. I grew up on Long Island. That whole tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Long Island, sort of the bottom part of Connecticut, Hartford, and whatnot. Yeah. And Bobby was, he was a little older, but he was like the drumming king out in Southern Long Island, him and like, Joey Franco. And after that, it was like Buddy Rich, and
so what year is this around that Big Trouble happens?
That's like 89, I think.
So before he's in Black Sabbath, right?
Yeah. Right. Okay,
so what was he in prior to that? I'm kind of unfamiliar with that timeline.
Well, Bobby had a band. I mean, I don't know all of his stuff, but I always got my own head in the sand, but Bobby I'm familiar with because I really dug the band he had together with his brother, Teddy. He's an amazing guitar player. Okay. Who I'm surprised didn't wind up in a much bigger band, but
is it I'm sorry, is it called Rondinelli? No, that's 96. That's 96. And he was on a couple of Rainbow albums. I'm looking up his discography. It's not consistent here, so I'm just seeing, you guys had this Big Trouble band. He was doing something before that.
I don't know what was going on with him. I didn't really have my head in the business at all. I was young and I didn't know anything about the business. My part of the story is Bobby, John, and Tommy had all been playing for Duro. I think that's how they got together. And then they wrote some songs, and they were. I guess they knew some people at Atlantic or whatnot, or they shot their deal. I don't know how they got their deal really, but they put it together, and they already had a deal. When I just sort of haphazardly came into the picture, I made my first demo tape out on Eastern Long Island, and some guy that thought he knew a guy that was a whatever in the music business, because he didn't really know what anybody did. He said, my buddy's a promoter, but the guy wound up being a merch guy who was friends with Jason Flom, and gave the first tape I made to Jason. Okay. And Jason was handling this Big Trouble thing. The band already had a name. And I said, holy shit, where's this guy been hiding out? That's what they said to me, I said, I'm not really part of the scene, I'm just kind of getting my stuff together. I just wrote my first songs, and that's how I got into that band. Just by a
So did it come out? Did the album actually come out?
Nope. It was definitely a fight in the studio making it. It was, the labels in those days, they were making big investments, and they were protecting their big investments. They were, by that point, they were used to spending huge budgets on videos and on their bands and on promoting them and getting the initial push. To sell CDs and whatnot. And so there were a lot of puppet masters between the label and the band in the studio and all that stuff. Now, I had just come from writing my own stuff and making my own demo and being happy about it, and immediately getting recognition that just rained out of the sky from nowhere. And, so I didn't feel really, really attached to the project when it happened. And after that project started, we started working on it, and I started meeting a few more people. There were more people calling me, and the word was kind of out, and they were a little frustrated because I don't know how much longer they would have looked for a singer. So there were a few things that were already kind of, tipsy going on in the whole thing. And at that time, I just don't think I was ready to be told every single breath and whisper in a vocal line, you know, to that mumbly shit that you just did before the bridge and do some of that over, you know, it was okay. And it was a good learning experience and, you know, great name producers that were working on it. But at the time for me, I was just getting up and going, man. And
so it got your foot in the door, basically.
Yeah, and then somebody else said, "Hey, man, we want to make your record, but you know, we want you out in L.A." And I said, "You know, is that Los Angeles?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, all right." You know, so it's kind of like that was my first like pinball shot. You know, like boom, somebody hit a flipper, and you know, I had everybody's blessing back from the camp in New York. They're like, "Yeah, that might be what you need to do, buddies." You know, so. John and I are great friends. We've stayed friends. I didn't see him. He didn't move out to California right away. I don't know when he moved out. Maybe the very late 90s or 2000s. I'm not sure, but we reconnected when he came out, and we've been great friends since then. And we do some writing together too. We've written a bunch of stuff together that's sitting around, and we'll see what we'll do with that.
Nice,
great, good friend. Bobby, since those days, I've worked with live here and there on the road and put together stuff. And, you know, Tommy, I'm connected with a few ways. Are you familiar with Tommy Hendrickson? He was the bass player in that band.
Okay. Not too much, but familiar a little bit.
He's now playing guitar with Alice Cooper. He was the bass player in a Long Island-based cover band called Rough Cut. RUFFKUT. And I think that was the first metal cover band I ever saw in the clubs. And you know, that inspired a lot of things because, you know, they were playing, they had great vocal harmonies, but they were playing heavy stuff. And I was like, wow, this is the best of both worlds for me.
That's true.
So, you know, it inspired me to get involved in that whole scene and get a cover band of my own going back in the beginning. So anyway, so Bobby, before the Big Trouble thing, I guess Bobby was doing the band Rondinelli, and then for a minute he was doing Doro Pesh. You know, he was playing in her.
Sure.
All right. Okay, Jack, what do you got next?
No, like I said, that was great stuff. That was great to get the beginning. So I mean, let's just tack on it. So talk to us a little bit about being I grew up on the East Coast too. So talk to us about being an East Coast kid and then going out to California. Is this a completely different world for you when you first went out there?
Well, all right. You know, part of maybe a fault of mine or maybe a great thing of mine is, you know, I never really follow the business very much. And I don't know a lot of the news that I really should know. I'm one of those kind of creative types who wakes up out of bed and regardless of what I had to do that day, if I pick up a guitar and I start working on something, I might be down a little, you know, rabbit hole for the next 15 hours or something. And it's a good thing because it's probably a more stress-free mindset, you know. You know, and you're really turned on and happy because you hear your art done just by yourself in a room, and you're happy enough with that, you know. So, and then, but on the other side, I didn't really make it my priority to get a notebook out every day and say, who do I have to meet? Who do I have to call? And, you know, pound down the doors of the record labels and stuff. You know, my story is more like when I came out to Cali, I put my own band together, but I came out with guys that found me on the East Coast and kind of management supported the whole thing, put a bunch of money behind it, and went around, picked the cream of the crop guys that I wanted, and had my whole band going. And I guess looking back at it now, I can say my first derail from my own band that was actually doing well when we got out here and getting some offers was because I got a call from Rudy Sarzo. who
That
was,
was going to be my other question. That's part of, I'm looking at the Wikipedia, so I guess this is accurate so far.
yeah, he was like kind of a hero of mine, and or definitely a hero of mine. And then he calls me up one day and he says, "Hey, you know, this is Rudy." I'm like, and then he says, you know, Rudy Sarza, and he's like, "Hey, you know," I'm like, well, "How's it going?" He called me on Thanksgiving. I'm like, "Happy Thanksgiving." And he says, "Oh, I got this band, and I got your tape from this A&R guy, Kevin Moran at Giant." And he said, "Look, can we meet up and talk?" And anyway, so I wound up joining his band, and
Which is Sun King, right?
yeah. And so it was he and I and John Five and a drummer named Rich Danielson, who wound up later in a band called the Poor Boys. You ever heard of them?
Yeah.
You know them, Jack?
Yeah.
And a keyboard player named Doug Allen, who was kind of a guy that was around LA a bunch. And yeah, we worked with that project. I think it was a good year and a half, 2 years that we kind of were working on that. And once again, very record label driven project, you know, changing the band sound this way and that way. Couple different Warner Chapel writers coming in, one guy working with Rudy, one guy working with me, one guy working with Johnny, then coming back together. You know, all kinds of folks were involved with that project. It was signed by Irving, so, you know, he kept it going for a while.
Okay.
It was a great experience, and you know, I loved hanging with Rudy on a personal level. You know, he'd pick me up, we'd drive over the hill. I hadn't ever been to the valley yet, you know, but we'd go over to their studio over the hill, and we talk about all the deeper life philosophies and spiritualities and the kind of common ground that we have there. And it was just really great to, you know, hang with a rock dude who pretty much, you know, he was so experienced in the business. He could answer any question and talk a whole bunch about what was going on in the music business and you know, from management to the labels and the bands and all that stuff. And you know, I was having some friction with one of my band members at the time, so, you know, it kind of drove the ship of not completely ending St. John back then, but, you know, kind of put it out on the outskirts, and I wasn't fighting for it so much at that point because I was doing this, and the other guys were starting to do other things too. So,
so did you sing on the album for Sun King, and did it actually come out?
Same sort of story.
Okay.
So one of the people at Giant who was a huge proponent for the band, Charlie Miner, he passed away. He suddenly, I think he died in his house. And right around the same time, Giant's head of A&R changed, and the new head of A&R was a guy named Jeff Aldrich, and Jeff really wasn't that into the band. You know, he'd come down, and they were really trying to polish us up and get us ready, and you know, to release the record and stuff. And
what year is this around? Because this is before Burning Rain, the first one, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
It's in the 90s.
Okay.
So, you know, me, like I said, I mean, I never really had the mindset to struggle about the business. You know, I loved working with all the bands I was working with, meeting new people, recording, being creative, and all that stuff. And I think, you know, I played with a lot of different people, both live and recording. But you know, I just kind of mixed it in with my day-to-day life and the other things I was doing in life. Didn't really necessarily say, damn it, I got to wake up at 4 a.m. and go down to Jeff Aldrich's office and say, hey, dude, what do I got to do to get this band? You know, now I would do that because, you know, it's a mindset. But back then I was just like, you know, ring. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's go do that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
A little bit more like that. But
okay.
Sounds like it was a little bit more bohemian, a little bit more just about the music than
type of attitude.
Yeah.
So I guess the bottom line, what I'm driving at with that is I think that mindset fit in a lot more down here in Southern California than it did in New York. When I got out here, I felt like I was running circles around everybody. Like everyone was like moving this fast. And I was like, hey, come on, let's go over here. Let's do this, and let's build the studio. Let's get that. And, now, after I was here for about 10 years, I'd go back home to New York and it'd be like, slow down, man, you guys. Really? Is this what I was like? It's definitely a different mindset out on the West Coast. For sure.
So when does the connection to Doug Aldrich come into it? Because first Burning Rain is in '99.
Yeah, so I had I felt like putting a grungy band together at one point, and it was called Crushed Flowers. Great band, great songs. Once again, was getting good amount of attention. The bass player in my band also happened to be in Doug's band, Bad Moon Rising.
Oh.
That was right before Burning Rain.
Right.
And Doug wanted to start something new. And I guess when they were chewing the fat one night, Ian said, he probably said to Doug, hey, man, you should meet the singer I got that I'm in his other band. And, we set it up. We went and met. I think the first day we hung out, we demoed like 3 songs really quick.
Oh, wow.
Back in his backyard. And those 3 songs got us our first deal on a Japanese label, Pony Canyon. And boom, we were rock stars in Japan. Our first record, we landed at the airport and there were people behind all the turnstiles with the signs and, like watching the plane, stuff like that. And that was a trip too. So that's, and that band was born. It's ironic that we both, I think because of that band, both of us got busy with other things. We were both getting calls because, people some of the 80s bands that were, from the early or mid or late 80s who were huge on MTV or whatever, by the late 90s were reforming, kind of like they were just starting to come out of that whole thing, 99, 2000.
Right.
Rock was kind of coming back, and it was no longer, rock is dead kind of thing, and it's grunge. And, that coincided with these broken up bands from back then who had fights or whatever, David Coverdale was, moving on without John Sykes, and our first record had some pretty good Whitesnake overtones to it, I would imagine. And first couple records, and that probably had something to do with Doug's involvement, and whatever the vocals, probably had something to do with Ronnie wanting to give me a call for Montrose right around the same time. So that's how Doug and anytime anyone wants to record music with me, I'm down. I mean, we could be doing anything, anywhere. Nope. Go record a song in the backyard. Yep. So he's got the same mindset as me, man. I mean, he's the hardest working sort of producer, songwriter, recording artist I know, man. He's just always working, always writing. Man.
Okay. All right, Jack, you got one before I go on with the history here? What do you got?
Well, actually, you kind of hit on what I was going to ask. Because I was going to say, so how did this come together with the Ronnie Montrose? But I think you kind of answered that. So maybe we'll fast forward a little bit. Can you tell people a little bit about the Ronnie Montrose Remembered events? Because this is a big deal. This is a big deal, the thing you do. So tell people what that's all about.
Before he did that, though, you were in Montrose as the singer for how many years before the Remembered thing happened? Yeah,
about 12 or 13 years. It wasn't straight through because Ronnie would take, he would take some time and he would do other things and they would come back to it. And, Ronnie was that kind of guy, I think, throughout his life, you know, throughout his music career. He was an interesting cat, you know, and he was more fiery when he was young. Obviously, the early Montrose got to a certain point, and for whatever reason, he was rubbed the wrong way, and you know, fired Sam and changed the whole sound of the band and made it, you know, came up with a whole different sound. And which, while we're on that, I just want to say, for those of you who haven't heard and don't know much about Montrose, the second singer right after Sammy that did the next two Montrose records, Warner Brothers Presents and Jump On It, Bob James. You know, we were pretty good friends, good acquaintances. He moved to Las Vegas and stuff, and he had come and sang at the Ronnie Montrose Remembered stuff on occasion. He just passed. He just passed away, and there's a thing up on my Facebook just, you know, talking about him a little bit. And you know, it's that stuff's rough, man, and we're all going through it, man, because all us rockers are kind of in a similar age range, you know, kind of cruising along. And that one was a little close to home, but you know, Bob was a really, really, really cool guy, a nice guy, great sense of humor. Gave me some more inside stories about what really happened between, you know, this and that with Ronnie back in those days that, you know, shed some more light. Bob was a total recluse. He was hard to find. He lived down here, maybe, you know, 15 miles down the road from LA in Redondo or Hermosa Beach, but no one had heard of him, you know, since the 70s, you know. We found him, and then we became friends and stuff. So anyway,
what a great singer, though. Amazing voice.
Bob James, great singer, amazing singer. And there's a song you guys can look up on YouTube. One of the favorite songs, I think, was called "All I Need," which was a ballad from one of those Montrose records. Anyway, I have there's these mixed time periods with Ronnie. Ronnie used to say, he'd say, "Keith, I feel like the rock and roll Chuck Berry, man." He's like, because all these cool guys came in and out of the band, and you know, he stayed with me the whole time, you know, basically. And he would say, as long as it's you and me, man, we'll pull it off. And
cool.
We had a lot of different rhythm sections. We started off with Pat Torpey for Mr. Big, and
Mr. Big, yeah,
and Chuck Wright. And now Chuck had recently been working with Mr. Big because Billy Sheehan, I think, was doing his own thing. So
okay,
Matt had a good working relationship with Chuck.
So he wasn't. That was before he came back to Quiet Riot, then, right? Yes.
Yeah. Well, Quiet Riot was happening, but there wasn't that many dates yet. Because remember, this is like 99, 2000. We're talking about.
Okay.
So, and that was, I mean, Pat is an incredible, underrated drummer, and anybody who knows his drumming and knows Mr. Big well knows what I'm talking about. Great guy. That was the first lineup of Montrose, and then after that, so many A-list players were in and out of the band. So now it was a sort of an arena for me to meet a lot more really cool guys. I mean, basically, Montrose was like the big influential band out on the West Coast that all these guys grew up with. You know, all these guys, Warren, DeMartini, and Lynch, and everybody else. I mean, that's what they grew up learning. And Van Halen, you know, they loved the Montrose stuff. You know, they were a big influence. So once I got into that band, it's kind of like I was no longer ringing the front doorbell. I was already in the backyard at the party. You know, so
yeah,
nice.
I suddenly got treated differently just because I was with this everybody's, you know, idol. So you know, I started meeting really cool players and having a great time because that music is so dynamic and it's so blood and guts doing it live. You know, it's kind of like it's got those elements of like, say, like the Who, you know, when they climax and Daltrey screams, you know, there's a lot of that in the Montrose stuff. So really fun stuff to play live. And
just that first album alone is so legendary.
It's so iconic. you know, and you know, everybody knows 3 or 4 songs off that record. Just the other day, give you an example, this many years later, I was doing this acoustic gig by myself because that's what all they can do in LA County. So I'm by myself outdoors in a parking lot of a winery. Some fans from back in the old, you know, in the old days grew up and opened up a winery, and they said, "Hey man, you want to do some of these gigs out here?" And I bring an acoustic and a piano and play some stuff. And so some guy yells out, "Rock the Nation." Hey dude, come on, rock the nation, right? And
that's awesome.
So in the audience is Jeff Young, guitar player from Megadeth.
Okay.
Yeah.
From early Megadeth. He's in the audience. So I go on the mic, I go, "Jeff?" He goes, "I love that song, man." And he goes, "Play another song. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I'm going to go inside and learn it." So, you know, he grabbed it, went and got his guitar, learned the song, came and killed it. You know, I had a little mini amp, plugged his electric into, and we did it. And it's just amazing how many people love to play that old Montrose stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've been blessed to just help sort of be the vehicle for a lot of these guitar players and drummers and bass players to come out and just rip on some Ronnie Montrose stuff. You know, now that we're doing Ronnie Montrose Remembered since he passed.
Right. So tell everybody about that and when that started. And I would assume by working with Montrose and all these people that you met, that's how you get to connect to all these people that are part of the event, right?
Well, that's some of it for sure. Hold on, gotta plug in the power cord here. So, by the time, you know, Montrose was done and he had passed, you know, I'd done a shitload of projects with people and worked with this person and that person and got hired by different, you know, stints of tours with different bands for whatever. And so I knew a lot of people. I had a good Rolodex of people, but as well, like you said, there were a lot of people from the Montrose camp from all those years of different people coming in and out. You know, from Eric Singer to Ricky Phillips and I don't know, you name it, man. There's a lot of guys that came in. Jimmy DeGrasso, Dave Ellefson from Megadeth, Sean McNabb, Wild Mick Brown was on drums for a while. But who was fantastic, one of Ronnie's definite favorites, one of his favorite guys that we have. You know, Mick is just, there's another underrated guy, you know. But anyway, so what happened was Ronnie passed, and you know, it was a huge surprise, as it always is. It was a huge surprise to everybody. And you know, his wife was a wreck. You know, she was just a total wreck, and which is understandable. And the memorial that was thrown together up in San Francisco was, you know, it came pretty quick, and not a lot of people really that I knew from LA and other parts of the country or whatever who would have wanted to be there were there. And there was a good local crowd, of course. The whole Bay Area was there. But, you know, it just, for different reasons, I wasn't really impressed or totally happy with the way it went down when it went down. But, you know, whatever, it was all good. And that wasn't my focus, you know. I mean, just dealing emotionally without having Ronnie in my life every day is, you know, a big deal. But years later, let's see, Ronnie passed in 2012. And 4 years later, we did the first Ronnie Montrose Remembered. So the August before that NAMM festival, one of the agents in LA that I know that likes to book stuff and that I book stuff with, I've hosted different events and thrown different events down there around the NAMM festival. For those people who don't know about NAMM, it's the music convention in Southern California in Anaheim, and there's over 100,000 people there every year. And because of that, since it started probably back, I don't know when, in the 60s or something, since they've been doing it, every large venue within like a 50-mile radius is doing a NAMM show. And of course, the large arenas right around the NAMM and right there in Anaheim, every year, you know, they book these huge shows. You know, Fender or Gibson or whoever will throw their party that year with all their artists and stuff. So anyway, that's the picture of what goes on down in NAMM. And so this agent I knew, he called me, said, "Hey man, I got an opportunity to, you know, to rent the old Galaxy during NAMM this year, which is now the Observatory." And he said, "Is there anything you'd want to do?" I'm like, "No, you're asking me?" And then all of a sudden, I mean, it just went, wow. I go, "Yeah, I want to do something." And I said, "What do you think about this?" And he said, "Can you make it work? Can you promote it?" I said, "Yeah, man. I mean, we'll get a lineup. You know, I'll put a lineup together. There's a lot of people that didn't get to come to Ronnie's service up in the Bay Area who would have liked to be there, and I'm sure they'd like to play or at least come down and you know, and pay their respects and honor Ronnie." And a lot of people came down the first year. Pretty much everybody I called said yes, and you know, we had members of. I mean, over the years, we've just had so many members do this thing. From, you know, it started with members of Aerosmith, Heart, Night Ranger, Cheap Trick, Foghat, Steve Stevens from Billy Idol came down the first year. Doug Aldrich came down. We've had almost the whole. Well, we've had most of the Tesla band. Over the years, we've had so many of the Whitesnake, different people, you know, from different incarnations. We even had Bernie Marsden, you know, the guy who wrote again way back in the day. Yeah, he had come over to NAMM from England. People from Great White, LA Guns, Edgar Winter Group, Pat Benatar Band. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
So how many have there been so far?
Started in 2016, and we made it up to 5 of them. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then, you know, the rest of 20, you know, NAMM got in there, you know, before it started. So, and it was a great show. It was a great year once again. I had George Lynch, who I've worked with a bunch in the past on different things, recording and doing some Lynch Mob tours, and Frank Hannon and Doug together on stage, you know, like kind of guitar battle stuff, which was a lot of fun this last year. Tracy Guns came, he beat the hell out of Rock Candy, you know, did like a 15-minute solo, but he's great. He's fantastic at just solo and improv, and you know, pretty much everybody's just so positive every year at this thing.
Do you think you would do it again next year then?
If it's going to be, if we're going to be doing 25% capacity, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it'll work. You know, but maybe, I don't know. I want to do it. I'd consider even doing it this summer if I can work it out. You know, I talked to that very agent I was just speaking about, called me about a week ago. First time we spoke since everything shut down in COVID, and we were talking about it. But nobody knows if NAMM's going to happen at this point. You know, we've been trying to check on it, but they haven't decided. So I don't know. We did a live Ronnie Montrose Remembered stream with the Monsters of Rock Cruise people back in July, I believe it was, which went pretty good. It had about 42,000 views or something.
Excellent.
So there is a fan base for it. You know, I feel lucky and happy to, you know, have known a lot of these really cool cats who were a big part of rock and roll, and a lot of guys who still are. Carmine of Peace, he came and played the first Ronnie Montrose Remembered, and he just played the last one. And you know, when he came down, he brought his whole family down to the first one we did. He was really, you know, I mean, he was so happy to be there too, and you know, and now he's a friend. So it's and as I meet these people and you know, from different iconic bands, I've been realizing, as you guys know, I mean, the world is just a small world. And, you know, it gets smaller and smaller, and sort of everybody knows everybody. Almost the way, like, you know, you can hear like a Metallica song on a radio station, and then the next song will be like an Eagles tune, and it's called like all like a lot of rock is kind of like, you know, it's going into this box where, you know, I guess that's another subject altogether. I mean, there's some rock bands who are definitely part of the whole footprint of rock, which is going to be there forever. You know, and but I guess my point about the other thing was, it's a small world. I'm kind of realizing that a lot of the guys I meet from different circles and different bands, they already know each other. They're already kind of connected because the industry is a certain size. And sadly, I guess there will come a time when, you know, the folks who are still around from these 60s, 70s, and 80s bands, you know, we're not going to be around anymore. And
so we got to all enjoy it while it's still around, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But but, you know, you're keeping the torch. You're carrying the torch, though. I mean, as you said, I mean, a lot of these bands that you're talking about, like Kingdom Come, is another one. That, you know, these are bands that we were all into, and you're kind of keeping the torch going. And I think that's important, because you're right. Even Iron Maiden, even though they're all kind of getting up there and they're still hitting the stage, how much longer is that going to happen? So it's great that you know that you're doing this. Like,
might as well enjoy it while we can.
Absolutely, man. And even this time period, I think, is still going to be down the road, 500 years looking back. You know, this is still going to be kind of an iconic time period. You know, it's like when Plant and Page are still around, you know, and occasionally doing this or that, and Jagger and McCartney and all that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a very interesting, once in human history, like, time period.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of came, it got on the heater. You know, the Beatles kind of, everyone was struggling to body surf, and they found the first surfboard, man. And, you know, and for most of the history of music that I've known, you know, the Beatles have been the biggest and the most influential band ever. And then, you know, of course, it all fell in after there. Everyone's got their tastes, you know, from heavier to the lighter and everything. But yeah, come and check out Rowdy Montrose Remembered if we do it again.
All right.
I think we will. It sounds like we will.
Cool.
yeah, but the idea is always to have it around NAMM, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you may see it on one of the cruises. We talked about it with the Monsters people. Before COVID hit, we were talking about doing it on the 2022 cruise, but I don't know. Now he's probably pretty backed up with, you know, his roster, so it may be a few years.
Yeah.
Sure.
Jack, you got a question?
Yeah. Go ahead, Rich. I know you got a bunch of questions too. But yeah, I'll go. All right. Well, let me see which question. So actually, I want to let's take a little bit of a side path, Keith. You know, something I've seen, like you even brought it up earlier. Like, I know that you're kind of have this spiritual kind of view of the world and life and shit and everything. So tell us a little bit about how that factors into every day, your music, your every day. Tell us. Let's go there. What the hell? Why not?
I don't know. It's a tough one, man. You know, if I don't,
Are you always actively making music?
Pretty much, yeah. Even if no one's ever heard it, I'm recording stuff all the time, and I've always got ideas. And, you know, I've got these 390 snippets on my phone that some of them hopefully will see the light of day. And one thing I am working on right now is a new St. John record, and it's been going for a little while. I told you guys about that band St. John that I started when I first got to LA. That was the one that I came to LA to start. And I kind of was able, like I said, to like go through players, and at least for guys that were available and not in big bands, kind of go through the cream of the cream who was around. And I found a guitar player back then that I really liked, and, you know, had a lot of similar influences that I did, and, you know, was just a motherfucker of a player. And after the St. John thing kind of disbanded back then, he got with a girl and had a kid, and he just left the music business, and he got into the corporate world and became this this big corporate guy in the company Mars that, you know, makes all the candy and stuff. Anyway, he looked me up a couple of years ago, just about 2 years ago, and said, "Hey man, what are you up to?" And I said, "Holy shit, my God, where did you come from, man?" And he had still been playing guitar all those years and studying different types of guitar, and, you know, he's really passionate about guitar, but he just, you know, kept it to himself and in the closet and this and that. And so we got together, and I had some songs I was working on, wanting to put a new record together on my own, do a solo thing. And he came down, and it was just like magic. I mean, it was just like better than it was then, you know, like really good. And his skills are just like, you know, amazing. You know, we were over at John Levin's house. I brought him over there one day, and John was bringing out, because he has an amazing guitar collection, right? You know, he's bringing out his different old Pauls and old guitars. And Brent happened to be over, the St. John guitar player. And, you know, John Levin, I mean, he's a burner, man. I mean, he's a really advanced player. And after a while, when Brent was picking up his guitars and just doing all his crazy classical shit that he was doing, you know, everybody in the room was just kind of jaw dropped, you know. We don't do that in our music, but he can do all that nutty, like, okay, what's the guy's name? Batio, the guy that plays like the four necks and everything. I mean,
oh, Michelangelo. Yeah,
Michelangelo.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like that advanced, except he also really, really, really loves the blues. You know, he said the only time he spent playing live music in all these years was he put this blues band together, and they used to go to like St. Louis and, you know, some of those kind of cities and just play blues bars and stuff. So it's a very interesting combination of what we got going on. And I'm super excited about the sound of this band now, the St. John thing that we're putting together. Because
does this factor into the question Jack said about the, you know, your philosophy or spirituality or whatever, your approach to your music? And what was your wording, Jack? How did you say it?
Yeah, I was just wondering how that kind of comes through in your creativity and in your day to day. So I kind of hear that answer coming through. Yeah, how this is coming out in
yeah, it does. Plus, Evil went a little bit into a diversity on the question too, but you know, there's a lot of totally non-spiritual people out there, and there's a lot of deeply spiritual people out there, and everything in between. You know, I mean, there's Cat Stevens who quit life and just became a monk for all those years and was that devoted to it. My personal experience in life is I've been lucky enough, I guess, and maybe I have the intuition or the sight to notice certain things that have been put in front of me, and I think I've seen what I would call the other side of on a few different occasions that are very surprising, and they're very long stories to try to tell. But I've been lucky enough to meet a few different types of healers that either have to, through meditative processes, harvest energy and be able to direct it and use it as a healing force. And I've also been deep into the whole Native American way of healing, which is calling spirits and channeling. And you hear these words all your life, like, oh, he's a channel and this and that. But when it really happens and it's undeniable, then you go, oh yeah, I know a channel. You know, it's like, you know, when you see it firsthand, that really changes things. I mean, I just had some really special people with these amazing otherworldly gifts around me. And that, it was like that in New York, and it continued to be like that on my journey out here in LA. And I feel a little bit like a fish out of water if I'm not kind of at least semi-actively involved in people who are more connected to whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in, the fabric,
the natural world.
Yeah, beyond just the you know, the five senses. You know, so I feel kind of tuned into that stuff. I feel personally like I've always been a little bit more, what's the word for it? Like to receive energy, you know, if there's bad spirits around or whatever you want to call it, bad energy. I mean, my hair is the first thing to raise up and like, where's that coming from? You know, and all that kind of stuff. I've always kind of been that way. And, you know, like anything else, the best songs you write are about life. And, you know, sometimes in your writing that just comes across. For me, writing music's kind of automatic, you know. It just, you sit and if you sit and it just comes and it just sort of happens, it writes itself, then, and you don't try to screw with it later and re-edit it and mess it up. It's usually pretty good stuff.
That's great, man.
Yeah, usually resonate with more people, you know. So I guess, you know, there's something, whether it's the universal soul pool of all of us together that are connected by an energy inside of us or around us or whatever we have. And if that together energy is actually the engine behind a lot of creativity, kind of like either maybe it's all of humanity or maybe it's just some of the energy you feel around you in your region or that you're in, and that's coming through you when you write, then I think you're going to write really great stuff. And I kind of feel that way about all those iconic writers and bands and Andrew Lloyd Webber and the Beatles and, you know, Bernie Taupin and all those people. I think they were just on a heater, and part of that heater they were on is coming from another place. So
that's a great answer.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, Eddie Van Halen has said stuff like that too. He said, like, you know, I didn't write this. He'll say, like, I didn't choose to write this song. This is just kind of what came out of me. Like, you know, so I kind of hear that a little bit too. Like, you know, like he's more like a channel of it. Like, it's just so cool.
I think that, you know, and I think, you know, for writers that are out there, they'll probably identify with this. You know, when you have to craft a song and you do it and you craft it because you know how to craft a song. You have a mathematical mind, so you can write it and you can do this and you can do that. You know, you have this many options for the bridge and this many options to change for that. Those songs that you craft because you said, hey, man, we've got the rocker, we need the ballad, let's write it.
Mm-hmm.
You wind up coming back to over and over again and spending the most work on. But the song that, you know, you woke up in the morning and it was just there, or you woke up at 3 a.m. and just had to get it down, that you never have to touch again. You put it down and you're happy with it because it's got that thing every time you hear it that you heard the first time you put it down. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's my opinion.
That's awesome. No, it's Rich and I have been songwriters too, so we get it. But all right, go ahead, Rich. I know we're almost out of time. Go ahead, Rich. I know you got some more questions.
I know you're working on you do side things too, and you contribute to other people's albums. So you're working with somebody actually on the East Coast here, which I heard a couple of the songs. Can you talk about that? Who you're singing on a couple songs for?
Yeah, I'm doing a few things like that during this whole COVID year, it's been like that. You know, I've been able to take on some recording projects, which I actually, I can't say I totally prefer it, but I mean, if I had to pick just one thing or the other, going out and recording or being locked in a studio and recording, I'd be locked in a studio recording. I mean, definitely. That's my side of the coin. So it's been a pleasure to be able to do a lot more recording work this whole year. And our mutual buddy, Jack Frost, who's a wonderful guitar player, a super nice guy. And he hasn't played in the Ronnie Montrose Remembered, but he's been a fan of it. And he's come down to it a few times down at the NAMM convention. Asked me if I could work on a few songs on his record. And so on that stuff, I'm writing the vocals, and but I didn't rearrange anything on the songs. I just left it raw the way it was. And yeah, we did. Actually, he sent me 2 songs at first and said, pick which one of these you like, and then I did one, and then he really liked that one, and so he said, "Hey man," he goes, "I wish I didn't have this album almost done." He's like, "I'd like you to do more, but I've got these other 2 songs. Pick one of those, because I got another singer that's already slated to sing on one of them." So he sent me one more, and I picked another one there. And, there's one up tempo. I'd like to say it kind of reminds me of the energy we've been talking about, old Van Halen. It kind of reminds me of that energy, because the thing I appreciate about Jack's stuff is he leaves it very raw. I said, "Jack, I can really appreciate this because it sounds like the band is in the room." You know, I get a lot of stuff in the mail, to sing on, and this sounds like I hear you in the room, and the whole band's jamming, and it sounds really good. However you made it, you got to keep that live, raw energy sound. Don't let that go away, when you put the record out, because I haven't heard that kind of energy in a long time. And that was probably inspirational in the way I approached the song, because I think I made the vocals feel really fun and spontaneous, and almost like an old Van Halen in a way. Yeah. I mean, my voice is nothing like that, but just energy-wise. And I don't know what the other tune sounds like that we did, but it's a ballady thing, but it's heavy, and I do a lot of layers of harmonies on it. So as I will do. There's a few
working with anybody. Yes, are you singing on anybody else's album aside from that?
Yeah. There's been a bunch this past year. There is a guy of note, a Dutch artist over in the Netherlands named Ron Koelen, COO, like cool with an EN, Ron Koelen. Okay. And he had hired me to write and record on his record as well. And he had kind of a potpourri record, because he has this real love for the heavier metal, the more European sounding stuff. But then he's a real big fan of the MTV Sunset Strip 80s bands at the same time. So he had this album that kind of had flavors of both. And he had a few different singers on it, but he had me write about 5 or 6 songs on it. And he released that. And then he wanted to start a new album. So we're almost done with a whole album that I'm only singing on with him. And he's got a lot of different guitar players on that record. We got Lynch to do a track. There's a European guy named Timo. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's playing on a couple of tracks. Gus G is on a track. I don't know. There's a bunch of names that I could drop, but it's a really cool album. And what he did was, he's like, "I'd really like to hear how you sound on one of these heavier tracks, but just sing it your way," kind of a thing. Okay. And we did that, and I think the result is really interesting. It's an area that I hadn't gone into before, and I think the way I approach that kind of heaviness, maybe it's a little reminiscent of the way Ronnie Dio kind of approached, the heavier tracks and stuff. it's aggressive, but it's still singing. It never really gets into the grunting or the screaming or any of that stuff. So it might be interesting to check out and listen to. There's some pretty cool songs. That's Ron Coolin. And I'm not sure what Jack Frost's record is called. It might just be Jack Frost himself, right? Or is there a band name? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I think he's still working on that. I think. Yeah, we'll have to have him speak on that when he comes on the show.
Yeah, maybe somebody can chime in and tell us. But yeah, I'm intrigued by the Jack Frost.
It's great stuff. I mean, both of these guys have great stuff. I wouldn't sing on it and put my name on it if it was, mediocre or sloppy. And by what I've said before, you guys know, I mean, I'm going to go where it feels good, where the sun is shining and the wind's blowing in the right direction, because I got that whole hippie thing going on. So these guys had some.
Aside from contributing to those two things this year, is your solo stuff coming out later in the year, or you're still working on that?
I want to release it. I feel it's very important for this first St. John record to come out. I feel like it's important for that to come out when the live thing is up and fully running. Okay. I want to support it live when it comes out. We could have put it out already, but I just need to get in front of audiences with that and really go out on the ground and do it and have people.
What about like a single in the meantime? Would you release a single or two?
I don't know. Anybody out of the 5 people on the planet who have heard this stuff, who are all very important people, it's pretty. The reaction, I think, is going to be pretty surprising. I just don't think anybody's come out with anything sounding like this in a long time, and it's kind of fresh. I mean, I don't know. It's not what I expected. It doesn't sound like anything I've written before or my influences.
Okay.
It's a surprising sound. It does sound a little bit like a couple of things from the past, but not a direct ripoff at all of anything, because, well, I'll leave it at that. Not really influenced by those bands. Like I never even had their records, so it's kind of interesting that it sounds like that. But
should people pay attention to your Facebook page about updates on this and other things?
Probably not that specifically, because I get out and do my promotion marketing thing when it's time, when it's really time to hit it. Mm-hmm. But I am really happy about it, really excited about it, and it's kind of going through a few phases. Some of the songs I've tried different treatments. Right now, Troy, the drummer from Tesla, he's working on a couple of the tracks that I wanted to rework. We were doing a couple of projects together down in Nashville, and then I played him some of this stuff, and he really flipped out about it. So I said, now that we're talking about this, there's a couple of these songs that aren't the way I'd envisioned them yet. You want to check these out, and so I'm really excited about that, because Troy's he's a bro. He's like a kindred spirit, and we go deep on a personal level. And now we're doing a few things together playing wise, and I'm really, really happy with all of it. And he's putting a really cool effort into the St. John stuff, and he's really excited about it, which makes me excited. I'm like, here's a guy who's done how many hit records, and he gets called by everybody every day, and he's like, I'm making this a priority, man. This stuff is the bomb, and blah blah blah. So hopefully we'll get it out by the end of the year. I would love to. I would really love to. And Jack, by the way, he's really good at the business. He has a lot of label friends, and he networks with a lot of people that are in the labels that are working right now. So he was giving me some advice on maybe who I should go to with it and whatnot. So
good.
So yeah, I could say I'm promoting the crap out of it right now, but like I said, I'm kind of waiting. I want to be able to play it live. I want to be able to go out there and just prove it, get out there and do it, because there's been too many bands that just come out on whatever label. I don't want to name names, but you'll hear about the record coming out for a month, it'll come out, and then 2 weeks later, kind of stop hearing about it.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Especially since especially since nobody's playing live either. It doesn't help.
Yeah, not at all. And for a new thing,
yeah.
If it was already established, we had a record out and had a following, I'd say, oh yeah, let's get some videos out there and make a new record for our fans. But we don't have any fans yet. We have to go get them.
Okay. Jack, you got any closing questions?
I mean, this will lead to a question, but I'll just to sum up. So there's the St. John record, which I'm absolutely interest is peaked. You got a great who's who of people coming on. It's the Ron Coolin album, same thing. Sounds like you got a who's who and Jack Frost. That's pretty fucking exciting. That's 3 exciting things coming up.
Those are cool things.
Yeah.
There's one more project coming up. And that you can follow my Facebook for. We're waiting to see, or I'm waiting to see, if this gets mixed properly, because it's this might be like the Fleetwood Mac Rumors record where they try to mix it a few times and it sounds like absolute dog crap, and then finally somebody gets it right. But there's a Southern California band that were more of these art rock sort of progressive guys. But they had some ideas that were real, like late 60s, 70s, like even maybe like some Emerson, Lake and Palmer influences. But I kind of took what they had and sort of transformed some of it maybe more into the more trippy, psychedelic, Beatlesy stuff with an edge to it that I'll be excited about if it gets mixed right and it comes out the way, some of the things come out the way I'm envisioning. I'm not going to say the name of that project now, but
you'll post about it on your Facebook page though as things go along.
Yeah, that will come out. I'll promote that on my Facebook page if it comes out too. Like those 3 projects we mentioned, I would be happy to endorse and get behind and stuff. In fact, with the Ron Coolin stuff, I'll probably go over to Europe and help mix the record, and then maybe do some live dates if we can over there.
Nice.
So that's it. And then Ronnie Montrose Remembered will come back at some point. Kingdom Come will start playing some live dates at some point. Unfortunately, the Burning Rain live dates are probably a little down the road in a year or two because of COVID. Our other things, like especially the Dead Daisies, they've got a lot of plans.
Right.
And that whole band,
Sure.
They're very active, and they've been dying to get their new lineup out there and playing with Glenn Hughes, and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so I got to ask also about Kingdom Come. Is there any hope of new recordings, new material from Kingdom Come?
Well, I can say this: we've been writing new material. Kind of, Danny Stagg lives in Pittsburgh. JB Frank lives in Jacksonville, Florida. So those guys write things on their own and kind of do it and kind of send stuff over. And then the rest of us are here kind of in the LA area. So Rick Steyer and I get together, and and occasionally with James, and write riffs, and we got a ton of ideas. We're just not sure what the future is with the name of the band, as much as if we're going to have to alter the band name a little bit to move ahead with new music, or if it's going to get worked out so that we can just be Kingdom Come official and release as Kingdom Come. So that's an issue that hasn't been worked out yet, to my knowledge. And either way, the band wants to put out stuff. I mean, we're writing stuff. Everybody in the band is chomping at the bit to release some stuff. For me, that would be more the icing on the cake for me, because it solidifies us as a band by writing new stuff. So hopefully, yeah. Does the new stuff sound a little Zeppelin-y? Yeah. Some of it does.
I gotta say, I gotta
It
jump
is
in and say,
natural.
I never understood why Kingdom Come got beat up for that. They were not the only band that sounded like Zeppelin, but they got beat up for that, and no one else. Like, there's so many bands that drew from Zeppelin. I never understood that.
It was the time period. It really was. There's only one period in time when Zeppelin was out, and that was that whole 80s MTV era. Really, it was in the earlier 80s, when it was between, either that whole Rick Springfield, Thompson Twins, The Cure, or the early metal scene and all that. Zeppelin was kind of out. Like, no one was listening to Zeppelin. And tri-state area, Long Island, New Jersey, New York, yes. We still had WBAB and LIR and all those stations, still playing like a 4-shot of Bad Company, when Mr. was at the top of the charts, But what's my point? I don't know. I lost my.
They sounded a lot like that. They sounded a lot like Zeppelin on that first album.
Yeah. So I think that was that was the end of the 80s. That was like 1988. They came out with that "Get It On" and that record.
Yeah.
And, I think it was just the timing of it. It was the timing of it that one or two tracks sounded so much like certain Zeppelin songs.
Right.
And I don't know. The media grabbed onto it. Like, these guys, Of course, back in the 70s, all the bands after Zeppelin, every label wanted their own Led Zeppelin. So, I mean, a lot of that stuff sounded Zeppelin-y.
Yeah.
Skinner did Sweet Home. I mean, come on. It was right on Zeppelin 1 and a lot of stuff, in all the 70s. But, yeah, no one got beat up back then. But for some reason, it wasn't cool to be Zeppelin-ish, and all of a sudden they came out with that and had the huge hit. And personally, I think instead of, even if they weren't into Zeppelin and even if they never heard Zeppelin in their lives, they just should have just said, yeah, we love those guys and we're happy our stuff sounds like, you think we sound like them? That's a big compliment. I mean,
Jack, we got a question down here?
Different point in time.
Yeah. So
you'll ever tour the East Coast in the future? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Annette. Maybe I have to look into setting it up. I don't know if we could do that. I don't know how the East Coast is doing in COVID. How are you guys doing? Are there?
It's back and forth. It changes every day.
It does.
Yeah,
but
it gets better. Then the cases go up higher. But a lot of people are getting vaccinated, so I don't know. It's a give and take a little bit,
But the big venues, nothing going on.
I think a couple of clubs have been, setting up a few things, small things, but I haven't seen anything, bigger venues yet, confirm anything yet.
Nothing. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe for the summer. I don't know. I haven't seen anything for that yet either, though. But that's 2 months away, 3 months away.
Right.
True. Well, supposedly, Southern California is going to be getting everything kind of back opened in July, is what the word is.
Okay.
So we'll have to see. But every county down here is different. You got Orange County right under LA, which has basically been wide open, and LA, which has been like mostly shut down hard. So it's kind of wacky to drive a few miles that way. And
somebody just said in the comments that Connecticut, I forgot Connecticut's opening up like 100% soon.
Yeah.
Toad's Place, is that still there? Hartford?
That was for Annette. Annette Miller said Connecticut.
Yeah, maybe she would know.
All right, thanks, Annette. Yeah, that's kind of like Orange County. I don't know if they're 100%, but they've had live bands for most of the time down here.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that in the Phoenix area too. It's you never know. All I'm gonna say is just be safe. I don't give a shit what your politics are. I'm just saying to everyone out there, just be safe. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, we definitely want to all get live music back. I want to see Ronnie Montrose remembered. I want to see that. I go out there for Metal Hall of Fame. Which is adjacent to NAMM, so I definitely want to see. We're all eager to get back to this, but probably nobody more than you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I love it out there. But like I said, I also love it in here, man. Just doing some recording. I'm having a great time. But yeah, you get a little burnout with no contact, you know, without doing that whole thing. So
well, yeah, I don't know.
I'd love to get with you one time and elaborate a little bit more about that that sort of spirituality, you know, otherworldly aspect one day. If that could ever be a topic, talk about some of those experiences.
Yeah,
because they're a little nutty. And once I tell them, you go, oh, kind of.
I would love to do a show on that topic. And that'd be a lot of fun. You know, sometimes we don't do interviews. Sometimes we just, and that's a great topic. It's such a big part of metal. The dark side, you know, Black Sabbath, and they do the dark and the light. And I think I would love to do that. You'd be welcome anytime, man. It would be great to have you back on. Maybe we can get that Jack too.
Yeah, when the album comes out somewhere around that time, you know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I don't want to say too many. Oh, Toads is booking live shows. All right. Well, Annette, if you can find some threads, then I'll make some phone calls. Or agents make the calls, and we'll go.
Nice.
We'll go.
Rich and I get a portion of the box office, so because we did this. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If you could just get me there, you know, roll me out, take me out of my box, throw me on the stage, I'm fine. Give me some food. I'm all right.
So I don't know, Rich. What do you want to kind of like take us out with some words of wisdom, or just some?
That's good. Thanks for being on, Keith. Thanks for all the updates, and you know we'll have everybody. You know, everybody pay attention to your Facebook page and look out for your songs coming out with Jack's solo thing. And then what's the name of the other band? The second band?
You got Ron Coolin.
Ron Coolin, okay. And then your solo thing, hopefully later in the year.
St. John stuff, yeah. We'll see. I mean, I'd love to tickle people with something, but you don't want to hit a home run, you know, when when the game hasn't even started yet, you know. So then you're going to take your third string song and put it out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but you're going to be busy. And are you going to do any like virtual things in the meantime? Can people see you doing something like that between now and then?
I don't know. I did for a bit. I was in the summer. I did 3 different virtual concerts with Monsters of Rock, and then we did a Kingdom Come.
I saw one of those.
I'd love to if the right opportunity comes up.
Okay.
But you know, I personally moved twice since November, so I've been kind of in that turmoil and just getting resettled and trying to figure out life, some things on that level, because I was renting a house, and while I was out of town with Troy in Nashville, he cut a deal and sold the house without even, you know, putting the house up on the market, and I had to just come back and with zero plan and just get things into storage and scramble for something. So I went through a whole avalanche of stuff with that. And but I'm here today with you guys hanging out, and most of the boxes are on. But yeah, man, Annette, get me some contacts. Then I can come out and see you guys. We can sit in the same room and do this.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, Keith St. John's got a lot going on. It's going to be an exciting next year for you. And yeah, you're welcome back anytime. This has been a great pleasure. It's been an honor talking to you. It's been a lot.
Great having you on.
Thank you. Evil Jack, man. Okay, next time, Rich, you've got to come in with an adjective.
I will.
I will too. I will too.
Okay. Awesome.
So we won't announce it until we're actually ready to go on, so that, you know, if
we'll surprise each other.
Time to change it.
It'll be a surprise.
Right.
I'll be something different too. I won't be Evil Jack. I'll be something different. But
all
right. Well, thank you everyone out there for watching too.
It's thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, everybody. And really, really, really think of everything that you want to say to your loved ones, and anything important that isn't worked out yet, work it out and say it, and have every conversation you want to have or you're willing to have it. My word for
Awesome. Great way to lead us off.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks,
It's been
everybody.
awesome, man.